And you know what? Donald Trump's presidency, the first couple of weeks have been, it's like whiplash for a lot of people. It's a lot of going on. I'm not going to sit here and talk about what you should agree with, what you shouldn't agree with. I think everybody's free to their opinion. I do want to talk about DEI. I want to play this video with Glen Loury, a professor at Brown. I think some of the things he talked about in this video, I think, are things that we in our community have to talk about, because these are things that those of us with kids, we have to reckon with. You know what I'm saying? And before we throw our hands up in the air and say they're removing our civil rights and all these things, we got to have more in-depth intellectual conversations that may be uncomfortable in a way, but challenging our thoughts.
I'm not sure what goes on here, but at Brown we get over 35,000 applications a year, and we admit about 1,800 people. That's a pretty selective operation that we're engaged in. We're an elite institution. Average SAT score is, I'm sure it's over 1,400, combined math and verbal. It's an elite enterprise. Do we really want to build into our policy going forward forever the idea that blacks simply can't be judged by the same standard with respect to this kind of undertaking? If indeed it's the case that African American applicants to a place like Brown University are on the whole not competitive, the numbers would be 3% or 4% instead of 12% or 13% if you did not take race into account when you made the decision about whom to admit. If indeed that's the case, do you think that you're going to get to equality by institutionalizing the practice of lowering the bar? Oh, she's black. She's got an 1150, but that's okay. She's black. Do you really think that that's going to get you to equality? It is not.
You know, when you're a parent, like when your kids are ready to go to college, let's take it to the college age. When your kids are ready to go to college, 15, 16, 17, preparing to go, every parent, you feel like, you know what, I want my child to be prepared, and my child can compete against anybody, when it comes to going to college. And like he's going to get into it, when people are applying for college, thousands of people are applying and they're only admitting a few. That's why people apply for so many different colleges, because you don't know where you're going to get into. But there's something inside that, for me, makes me feel uncomfortable if I was to tell my child or to know that my child got admitted, even though they didn't perform as high because of their skin color. There's something inside that cringes for me personally. So, a lot of times that's why I'm talking about as parents. What you tell your kids and what you feel about your kids is actually how you really feel. Because people campaign and run around and I'm going to boycott this and I'm going to boycott that. And I talked about all the madness with Al Sharpton. What you feel about your kids, that's where you really get into how you actually really feel. So most people who are black don't feel like, you know what, my child can't compete or my child needs a break. You feel like, you know what, my child, I'm going to push him or her and they should get to wherever they need to get on their merit alone.
As a remedial enterprise undertaken in a transitional way with the intent of directly addressing historical inequity and trying to get on a different track than what had been, say the year is 1975, okay, I can see that. As a permanent practice, as the way of doing business, as in effect, compensatory endowment to people of color so that they can be represented in numbers that don't actually reveal the disparity in their performances. It's a lot of things, but it's not equality. It leads to a lot of things that are not healthy, like patronization. We don't really expect the soft bigotry, low expectations. We don't really expect our African American students are presumptively disadvantaged. Think about that. You're black and you're presumptively disadvantaged?
And that's the part that's extremely cringy when you think about your own children.
We need diversity. We need representation. Oh, I see. Now the African Americans who are included in this rat race competition to get into these places. Everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about. You apply to 20 colleges because you don't know whether you're going to get into one of them or not. We create a world in which the presence of African Americans is justified because they leaven the mix, because they bring some color to the table. It's a lot of things, but it's not equality. So what I've been saying of late about this question is, okay, you want to do affirmative action, go ahead, go ahead. I mean, I'm not going to fall on my sword about it. Me personally, I'm not going to throw a fit. No, it's not the same thing as racial discrimination against blacks in the history and so forth and so on. You go ahead and do it if you want to do it. But if you really want equality, you wouldn't be satisfied with that. If you really want equality, you would address yourself to the foundational root of why it is that African Americans as a population are underrepresented at the right tail of the distribution of intellectual and academic performance. Unless you do that, unless you change that foundational root, you'll never get equality. So you decide.
I'm not here to argue who is racist, who's not racist. I think those are questions depending on what topic you're talking about. But as far as the black community in particular, wanting to address, okay, why are a lot of our kids not reading at the level they should be? Why graduation rates low? Why are a lot of our kids maybe unemployed or underemployed? Why are they not prepared? You know, many issues. And not that these issues don't exist in other communities too. But the point is, we need to look inward and we need to focus on, okay, whatever issues that we feel like we have, first we need to talk about what issues do we have and what do we agree upon are issues. Because there are so many conversations, and again, how people talk outwardly in general about just everybody is automatically has been oppressed or everybody is automatically disadvantaged. This is the stuff that most people refuse to feed their kids. We talk about it, but we don't like to feed that to our kids because deep down inside, it isn't something I would pass on to my son or daughter. So I can't tell them, look, you're automatically disadvantaged because you're black. If we want to bridge the gap on education and to have our children performing at higher levels, we have to look inward. Now, we can talk about federal funding and what should be done on the federal level, but again, I talked to a lot of my friends about this, and everybody has different points of views. But even when it comes to education, there's a lot of things going on from federal to state to whatever your municipality is. And there's a lot of conversation you can get into as far as where the funds should be, where the funds go. Even my kids, there was a huge fund discrepancy from the state. For whatever reason, there was some political stuff in East Orange, and they did not fund East Orange District the way they should. But again, at the end of the day, I'm responsible. I got to make sure my kids are performing at a certain level, and I have to make sure I'm on that job constantly. You understand? So if they're not performing at a certain level, if they're not prepared for college, that falls on me as their father, and it falls on their mother as well. So at the end of the day, these inward conversations are things that we need to have, but we do need to sit down and we need to stop automatically talking about DEI and feeling like, you know what, our kids are going to be disadvantaged because there are some systems in place that were helping them. What's going on right now is just tons of emotion, and people aren't actually having any intellectual conversations, in my opinion. You know, you have the conservative side, they are totally bumbling what DEI is because they're labeling it as one thing, and we have the liberal side, which are stoking up the Al Sharptons and the Joy Reids. They're all stoking up the emotions of black people to feel like this presidency is repealing everything. Is it about equality, or is it about, as Professor Loury talked about, are we interested in investing in the humanity and the progress of humanity for our children, for our next generation? That's what it's about, because we're not going to be here forever.
You want representation, or you want equality? You want titular representation? You want a cover story? Or you want equality? Are you interested in developing the human potential of the African American population? Or are you merely interested in covering your ass by being able to present an optics that shows that you're a diverse and inclusive institution? Okay. So no, I'm not against affirmative action, but I'm against hypocrisy. I'm against condescension. Okay?
Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Crucial Convo.